So my name is Linda Roberts-Smith. I'm a coffee trader and I live in Sydney. I love living in Sydney because of the climate. I live close to the water so I can swim, and I love walking my dog because I can go down to the beach and walk the dog on the beach. About 3 years ago, I changed my GP and she discovered that I had a heart problem and referred me to a cardiologist.
I'm Professor Martin Ning. I'm a structural and interventional cardiologist. Linda is a 71-year-old, highly active lady who still works full-time. She's a small business owner that runs a really busy business in a stressful industry. And like many people like that, she works long hours. And she had allowed her heart condition to get on to her and really progressively limit her.
He ran an echocardiogram and I was diagnosed with early stages of aortic stenosis. The diagnosis made me realize how important it is to put myself first. Due to the demand of running my business, I knew that I was tired, but I tended to ignore that.
Linda had a heart valve condition called aortic stenosis. So aortic stenosis means narrowing of the aortic valve, and the aortic valve is the outlet of the heart. So the heart is a pump, and all the blood that is pumped by the heart has to exit the heart through the aortic valve. So you can think of it as the exit of the heart. Once you get older, particularly over 70 and 80 in particular, aortic stenosis becomes increasingly common. It's a condition that is deadly and progressive. In other words, once you have aortic stenosis, it tends to get worse and worse. And as it gets worse, it ultimately, poses a threat on our patients' lives. But before that, it causes profound limitation to life.
I was told about the treatment options, that it could be open heart surgery or it could be a TAVI. I didn't know much about a TAVI, but I heard that it was very fast and the recovery time was very quick.
In considering her treatment options, it's obvious that Linda could have either surgery or TAVI. But in looking at all her data, so we did imaging of her aorta and her heart anatomy, we felt that she could have a TAVI very safely, and that the result that she would get from a less invasive procedure would be the same as if she had open heart surgery. And because of that, our heart team decided to offer her TAVI. I think Linda is a good example of the way TAVI has now evolved. TAVI began as a procedure only for people for whom surgery was not an option. In other words, people who were inoperable. And then in subsequent years, TAVI was offered to people who are high risk for surgery. But really, in the last 5 years, we've come up, the field has changed so much so that now TAVI is recommended in our guidelines for the appropriate patient who is low risk for surgery, like Linda.
After my TAVI procedure, I felt instantly better. I knew I was better. And my life has gone on and I've continued in my trading business. In fact, I felt I have an extra lease of life and I will live much longer than I probably normally would have lived.
It's illustrated in Linda's case. She had let these symptoms creep up on her progressively over a number of years. She came to me in a fairly late stage of disease. She is a patient who, still lives a completely full life, runs a busy business, travels to exotic locations when she's well. Seeing Linda in follow-up after the TAVI procedure, I was frankly bowled over by how much she was better. She obviously was almost immediately no longer short of breath and able to do the things that she normally did. Look, I think Linda's case teaches us how much you can really benefit from having your aortic stenosis or heart valve treated. And these days, how straightforward it is, and how relatively non-invasive it is, and how rapid the recovery is. We have a situation in our community where we have very, very many people, around 100,000 people with heart valve disease untreated. Many people, I think, are afraid of having their heart condition assessed or treated. And I think that, I would encourage, our patients to seek medical care, because treatments are becoming increasingly non-invasive and they're very effective.